Okay, so we'll open this reorganization meeting for the Brattleboro Town School Board at 5:02, and I would entertain nominations for election of board chair.
I'd like to nominate Jill Stahl-Tyler for school chair.
Second. Okay, any other nominations?
Who was the second?
Dave.
David. So we have one nomination?
We're working on a second.
Well, he seconded.
Yeah,
Put a
well, I
second
mean, we're
nomination.
working on a second nominee. I'd like to nominate myself to be the chairman. For a second or two.
Second, second.
Yeah, another person. Second.
So he's everybody.
Yes.
And that's probably about it for nominations, right? Unless there's anybody else that would like to be interested. Okay, so we'll close nominations. All in favor of Jill Stahl-Tyler for chair, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Why don't you show of hands?
Make it unanimous.
Okay, so that would be Jill. And I'll turn the meeting over to Jill.
So we'll take nominations for the vice chair.
Second.
Any other nominations from the floor?
Who did you nominate?
Mark. Second.
And we don't have to vote each time to close nominations.
Yeah, if there's no other nominations.
No other nominations? All in favor of Mark?
Aye.
Signify by
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? And board clerk. Any nominations for board clerk?
Normally that is a function of the new person involved, simply to win the lips.
The complicating factor is that the clerk, we're thinking that the clerk would do the updates on the website. So I think there's been wondering about the fairness of asking a new person to do that as well.
Sound like you're volunteering?
I don't have to be, I was, yeah, if nobody wants to nominate me, which I can understand.
I would nominate Dave. Can I do that? Yeah. So I'd like to nominate Dave.
I mean, I would just caution to make sure the person is interested in doing it.
Yeah. I'll second Dave.
All right. Any other nominations? So all in favor of Dave for clerk?
Aye.
Aye. And, oh, we have to do this already again. We just switched on the voting members, didn't we?
Well, your current voting members are David, Jill, and Mark.
And when did we start that, Ron? I thought it was relatively recent.
Maybe.
Yeah, remember you and I were sort of splitting the duty.
If I couldn't go, you would go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's always good to keep it all, but I think
Well,
we can
last-
have an alternate or something.
Yeah, the last few
Yeah.
meetings,
Yeah,
we've all
yeah.
been attending, and because there were any...
Is everybody comfortable with that same arrangement that I'll be an alternate for Jill
Or me, if
or Dave?
Well, to serve as alternate, really.
And
General.
Kim,
And Kim can be an alternate.
my memory is that as a non-voting member, I still went when I could because
Yeah.
I wanted to learn the process.
Right.
So,
And if you do.
Yeah, we encourage all board members to come, but, you know, we still need at least 3 voting members.
And there's actually a
So are we keeping the slate?
So all in favor of keeping the slate as it is, which would be Dave, Jill, and Mark, with Peter as an alternate, with Kim invited to come as she can. All in favor?
Aye.
And then board committees. Ron, you have a list of where we're at. I know we have one whole one.
Yeah.
Right, the diversity. So this is who's on here right now. Classified staff negotiations, and are we not in the contract year?
We would be for next year.
So that person would have extra meetings this fall.
Yeah.
So that's currently Mark. How do you feel about that, Mark?
Which is that, the finance?
The classified staff
negotiations.
Oh, that's the
negotiations.
support staff?
Support staff, sure, I'll do it.
Mark, you're comfortable with it again?
Can we do, is it okay with everyone if we just go down and then do one
Yeah.
at the end? Policy Council is currently myself. Is anyone interested in stepping over to that? It meets once a month and then as needed.
You can do it for at least a year, right?
I think it's almost 2, isn't it? Is that
Policy Council?
3.
3 since you stepped up?
Oh, Mark was before Jill. Yeah.
Is there a limit?
There is a 3-year limit. There's a 3-year term limit.
That's right.
So I'm happy to serve the 3rd year because I kind of have it in my life schedule at the moment.
Consistency is good.
And I almost know what's going on with it.
You're great. Love to have you.
Community volunteer is a slash. Does that mean we don't have someone or we don't need someone like that?
You haven't had that.
I don't remember that even being talked about while we're.
I don't either.
I didn't even know that's committee.
So let's not worry about that one. Community/volunteer. But it's not come up during anyone's.
Anybody want to volunteer?
For what?
What is it?
We don't know.
So then, Mark, the WSESU Finance Compensation Evaluation/Goals, you're currently on that one.
Sure.
You'll continue?
Yes.
So then here's one that's definitely open. It's diversity/equity for the supervisory union.
Yeah, I turned that down last time just because of time constraints, but
When
feel
does
like
it
we should have
meet?
It's the
somebody
first
on.
Wednesday of the month, usually at 3:30 at BAM's.
And then
See,
you
that's-
just come, you
I
come
can't
here.
do it during this- I just can't do it during the day.
We'll continue and come back to that. How's that? The supervisory union sabbatical leave is as needed. A special education is as needed, so we'll leave them as they are. Teacher negotiations was Margaret.
How is that different than the first one?
It's
Staff.
the support staff is the first one, this is the teaching
Oh.
staff, certified staff.
And Mark, you did that last?
I did the staff, and
Oh.
probably wouldn't be a quantum leap for the teachers, would it? I'll try it.
You're willing to try it? Do they meet at different times, Ron?
Yes,
It's a different
yeah.
whole,
It's a different cycle.
so it's a different cycle? So it wouldn't be doubling up the demands in
No,
one year?
just be stretching it out over the years.
Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Tax stabilization board for Brattleboro town is as needed. Is the select board thinking that we need that? Have you heard anything of that?
I know, that's
Tax
if
stabilization
somebody,
board.
if somebody requests to not have to pay their full property tax so they can get the business expanded, or like the expense, so they can not have to pay for as much as their fees. There's a board that decides that. I didn't know that.
Well, it says as needed, I guess, too.
Yes.
And then capital grant review board for Brattleboro town currently is Mark and Peter. And I believe
Yeah,
that was because
that's
it
kind
has
of once every blue moon.
Yeah, that's met twice since I've been on it. I'll continue doing it.
continue,
Yeah,
Peter will continue.
Sure.
And facilities energy committee is also Mark and Peter.
And me.
You're not on here, but I think that's
Well,
what we had.
Yeah, so do we want to keep that at 3? Mark, do you want to continue to be on that, given?
I have not a problem, because the others are not that frequent.
Okay,
I'm
so we
into
just
it.
continue to warn them.
Sure.
So
there
I'm
were
gonna
three?
I'll put Dave on here too then.
Yes, please.
And then FLES, foreign language.
Yeah, and you know, I think you don't need that because that was early on when the program was being established. So I don't think you need a standing committee for that.
Okay, so, and just to be clear, Kim, you are allowed to be on the board without having to do one of these. They strongly encouraged me when I came on, but it's also according to what you can fit into your schedule.
Yeah, because I'm happy to join whatever you do.
But there's none that really meet at night that are,
So Kim, you have the same problem?
Yes.
Yeah.
so then I'll read this down just so we're all clear. We're leaving policy review as needed. Classified staff negotiation is Mark. Policy council is me. The community volunteer we're leaving open. The supervisory union finance compensation evaluation goals is with Mark. The diversity and equity, we don't have anyone in. And that's the first Wednesday of the month at BAM's.
So why don't meaning, can I just do my best?
Yeah.
So I'll,
That, or you could put me down, and I can try to do my best to try to get there.
Can we do a slash of the two of them and they'll communicate? Is that
Mhm.
okay?
Yep.
All right, so Peter and Kim both.
so that means that they had one today at 3:30?
Yes.
And if you get on the email list, they're really good. They're really good with minutes and the special warnings. And, you know, it's a great committee.
So we'll leave the sabbatical leave, the special education, teacher negotiations is Mark, tax stabilization is needed, capital grant review board, we leave with Mark and Peter, and the facilities is Mark, Peter, and Dave. And foreign language we're not worried about. Okay, I guess some sort of a nomination to accept this,
I move.
A second?
and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, then at this point, we want to establish meeting days and times. And Kim, this is mostly because you've come on, and so every time we bring on new members, we make sure it works. And currently, they are the first and third Wednesdays at this time, between supposedly 5 to 7.
And we're talking about changing the next one to the 4th or 5th. The 5th Wednesday.
And because of April
April
vacation.
30th. Right.
But in general,
Right.
is this okay still for everybody?
It's working out pretty well for me.
Dave?
Yeah, it's great.
Mike?
That's fine with me. Did you want to, at this time as well, meeting places? Or you want us to keep it, because I have received a request that maybe we not start the rotation at Academy for a bit, maybe fix Route 9.
You mean going on
Yeah,
from
going
this
on,
spring?
yeah, this spring.
Well, we're scheduled to move to ES pretty
ES.
soon.
ES is next meeting.
Next meeting.
Yeah.
So,
So
Next
you're-
meeting,
Which
so
is
this is the
granted.
last meeting here?
Except that,
Well, so be it.
it means we have more Route 9.
I know, for some of us,
Stay
all
right
all
here.
three of us living on this side still have to
We're
travel.
from the other side.
I guess we could go to Guilford and back.
no, South Street, through Marlboro.
Just
around.
take the loop.
Right, yeah, through Marlboro. So we're going to stay on first and third Wednesdays. Do the principals have anything they want to jump in on that? Jen, John,
Well, that's fine.
Ron?
No,
No, fine, so the next one, the next meeting is next week?
The next one then would be the 16th, but that's problem because it's vacation week. And then we were going to move it to the 23rd, but that's a problem for you.
I'm traveling then, so I was requesting that we, if we could, go to the April 30th.
and it works out for the principals, and there's a conflict that came up, and I'm gonna talk about it later on the 23rd, so if we could move it to the 30th, that would be great,
Okay.
at least for this meeting.
I'm fine with that.
I'm
Yeah,
fine with
Fine
that.
with that.
And that one is an EES.
Yes.
Okay.
So April, boy, that was Karen's meeting. And that's going to be at ES, as on this.
And then we move to EES until the fall. Okay. All right, so then we will review, prioritize, establish desired outcomes, looking at the minutes, agendas for today. Any comments on the minutes?
Yeah, the one for March 5th, I'm flattered that people thought I was here, but I was not. I'm listed as being here.
Oh.
But I read the minutes more carefully because I was not here.
I have a comment on March 5th, and it's not a comment so much on James taking the comments as much as discussing quickly what we want to have the minutes say and the official record. The official record is really being videotaped at the same time, right? But I'm wondering when we get to things like, well, for instance, the Energy Committee, where it says there's quite a bit of discussion and Mr. Montgomery answered the board's questions. I could see where someone in the public might say, well, wait a minute, that's a solar project, that's really new and unique. What were the questions? We do that several times just in our general way of taking minutes. Does the rest of the board feel that we need to say something more? I was, for instance, also under new business of, the last one about the policies on the website under unfinished business. I actually can't remember for sure what the policy, I remember we said we have a policy, but should we be saying that for sure the board, it says whether the board has a policy regarding emails we might receive. It might behoove us to say we confirm that we do have a policy that addresses that.
I think that's what we did. We put in the same policies, the same procedure as any communications. You know,
So it's asking a question about it.
So you do have a policy.
But that's reflected in the minutes that you were going to look at that, right? It wasn't saying what
I didn't
policy.
think it had been
It says
decided.
whether the policy.
Oh, and my interpretation of that meeting was that we said that the policy that exists did address that, so we weren't going to look at it again. So that's good we asked then.
It's either C7 or C8.
But we have a policy.
Yeah.
So maybe, Jane, if we add something that says we do have a policy that addresses that?
And I have a general request for the other folks to consider for the minutes. One is that action items, so with a person's name next to it, that would be really helpful. And I want to see if folks would consider that if there is an action item, that those get immediately sent out, because sometimes we wait for the minutes, and then the action items, we don't have them readily at hand to remind us about what we're supposed to do for the next meeting.
Do you mean the motions and the seconds?
No, more of an action like
Yeah.
someone says he will do X.
Yeah, or we need this piece of information, and it's going to come from Deb or something. So I was wondering if we could call out the action items so that they stand out, and that we get those sort of immediately, rather than if we wait and the minutes don't come, then we sort of miss. Like, I like to go back and look and see what are the things that I was supposed to do that I volunteered for.
Or was volunteered for.
So anyway, I'm asking that we consider that.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I just worry about the turnaround time for Jane and Barb in my office to be able to get those out like that.
That's why I was wondering if the clerk could send an email, like the next day, and say the action items were. Is that, does it mess
I
with
would have
our?
to pay attention though.
No, basically, then the clerk would not be taking notes of the meeting, but if, you raise your hand and say, this is an action item,
Action item in the person's name.
and then.
I mean, that's how,
it's
every
not
board I've
action
done,
item.
that's how we've done it. And
There shouldn't be any more than, half a dozen per meeting,
Yeah.
if that much? And then the clerk would then go back and write up a quick little blurb on half a page and say, action item A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3,
You notice
4.
how I volunteered you for
No,
clerk and then added.
No, it's fine. Actually, if you just got ahead of me on raising that. I think if we ask Jane to, with anything like EES Policy Council, if there's action that we're going to take you've asked us to log our time so you can use your Fortinet, an in-kind donation or something like that, that if there's that after every item, Jane, you just put action, and then if there is none, put none, and if there is an action, just what's supposed to happen. And I'll do the same, but if you wouldn't mind just sending me the draft of the minutes as soon as you're done with it.
But
Which
Jane,
you do
She
anyway,
usually does
right?
anyway.
Didn't
Yeah,
you do that
she always
anyway?
sent it to me. and I-
She
Yeah.
sent it to the
Yeah,
clerk, but
yeah.
she would not necessarily know what an action is going to be for the next, coming up in the next meeting, to put on the agenda.
Right, well, let's see, this is the ELL overview, after the ELL overview, there's a determination to get us contact information for parents, because we want to explore their experience or something like that. Then it would say action, contact information will be sent to, just because I made that up, we're not going to ask you to do that. Okay.
Well, and then what I like about this too is we would be able to follow up anything that was kind of dragging from one meeting to another,
Yeah.
and we'd be able to see it, that we don't
Yeah.
lose it.
So we just had action after every agenda item, and if there's none, just write none.
So coming back to the question that we had on the minutes, so that we can approve the minutes, so far we have that Peter was not actually in attendance on March 5th,
Right.
and that we were going to add in about the master agreement to the policy regarding emails on the website. And anything else on any of the other minutes, March 5, 19, and 19 special meeting?
No.
If not, entertain a motion.
So moved. I move that we accept the minutes and
Second?
Second.
agenda is
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. At this point, I guess we want to move on to the first presentation.
So, did you do recognition of groups or individuals?
Oh, recognition of visitors.
Recognition of groups and individuals. So just, hello.
Hi. We're here because we just want to know what the next steps are with the community involvement forums.
I bet you were going to say because you just enjoy.
And I love your
That
company.
too.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know who was going to be chair.
It's exciting.
I'm here to tell you all about the ESL program.
So Heidi's part of the agenda that, is from our work plan,
An EL presentation, and then we're going to update the board on diversity issues. So, we'd like to get Heidi first in the agenda. If you know something about the next steps in the community forum, to briefly get that out, that might be something we can do.
I don't,
We haven't gone back to it because we've just had the financial, and we've been concentrating on the financial stuff. So the only thing I had thought of is to, and I didn't even bring it, to go back and look at that table, see where we were. And I guess the one quick question that I thought of to ask the board, I think the last thing we left was, do the list of meetings that I had suggested that kind of freaked people out?
the dates.
The dates. Well, so we've left it that we wanted to talk about the topics and the way that those meetings were going to be done, but I don't know if people are prepared to do that tonight or if we wanted to have that actually on the agenda for next time.
Or if you wanted to specify some clarifications that you wanted the subcommittee to come up with. And if you have any questions about any of this, please just interrupt us and ask.
So, and Kim, what it was is we started in October with a lot of attendance at some meetings with some concerns being raised from the audience and attendees. And then we had designated a subcommittee of Dave and I to go ahead and try to address some of those issues. And then we've been chipping away little by little through it. The website is live. You did? Oh, good. So there's 2 visitors at least out there.
Been there, done that.
And we did a survey that is also on there. And kind of the second community conversation was the budget meeting for the town reps, if anyone wanted to come to that. So we have made a little progress.
Sure.
And where we're at now is scheduling other meetings.
So if we put it on the April 30th agenda, to have that as a focus, to do some work on it.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
So then I guess we move to Heidi.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know if that was worth coming out for just that part, but Heidi's got exciting things to say.
Well, partly we came because we looked at the agenda for tonight and there wasn't any mention of it, so we just wanted to come and get it straight from you all what the process, the next steps were. So I guess
It's
that's
on,
what it
the
is.
only thing that's on is the agenda review for next meeting, is what I was going to think to bring it back up. Since we haven't gotten to it.
All right, thank you.
So first I have to apologize, our overhead projector is not working, so we quickly improvised and brought this one in. So it may blind you if you're sitting there and you may not see it in the weeks. And I don't know if this is how to work here.
Maybe the first question I have is it ESL, ELL, ESOL? Why is there so many?
ESOL. There's a second
I'll explain that.
So let me start by just introducing Heidi. Of the many programs we have at Academy School for Children, none that we're more proud of than our ESOL program. The students in there are just so important to our school culture. It just really is a huge part of our school. Right outside this hallway, of course, we have a hall of flags. There's a flag hanging out there for every one of our students who's born in another country. And the students, I think, feel honored to have them in school. And Heidi is our ESL teacher. She's with us full-time. There are several in the district, and we're fortunate enough to have Heidi with us all day long. And, Heidi is the miracle worker who makes that all happen. With all these kids, and I think once you hear a presentation, you'll know what I'm talking about, and you'll be really impressed as well. So, Heidi, thank you.
Thank you. I'll start with Jill's question. ESOL is English for speakers of other languages. It used to be ESL, just English as a second language, but we found that a lot of our students come in and they speak 5 languages already. So we can't call it their second language because it's their 5th or 6th. So that's why I think pretty much across the United States they went to ESOL. And then ELLs are English language learners, which they've also shortened recently just EL, English learner. So if you see that. So here at Academy School, so within the Brattleboro town, all of the English language learners come here to Academy School, and we have 26 ELLs at this point that have come and gone throughout the year, started with 27. So the numbers always change, and they're from 14 different countries: China, India, Jordan, Rwanda, Iraq, Puerto Rico, Guatemala, Ethiopia, Bolivia, Costa Rica, Thailand, Turkey, Taiwan, and Pakistan. And then there are several different languages. And I put English language learner languages up here because there are other students who speak other languages within our school. And I'll get to that point a little further down the line. So Chinese, Gujarati is from India, Spanish from many different countries, Siddimek from Ethiopia, Punjabi also from India, Thai, Urdu is from Pakistan, Turkish, Arabic, we have students from Iraq and from Jordan, and Kinyarwanda from Rwanda.
How did you learn all these languages?
I do not speak all of these languages. So this is just, a lot of people ask me in the community, oh, so are all your students Spanish speakers? And I'm like, oh, no. And so here you can see I have 6 Chinese. You can read the graph, but Chinese and Spanish are majority languages, but really there are only 6 students, so there is no real huge majority language.
Do you ever hear them speaking their own languages amongst themselves?
Sometimes, but usually kids have their language for school and their language for home, and they, even if someone speaks to them, if a visitor comes by and speaks to them in their language, then they may or may not, they may feel a little shy to respond. But sometimes, yes, I have heard it before, between siblings.
And a parent.
Yeah,
Parents.
or parents and children often in the hallway will be speaking in their language.
When the parent says it speaks them in their language in the hallway, it's usually serious. Something we call our kids by the whole first name.
So the way that students come into the program, every student, it's a federal mandate that a primary home language survey is done by every student who comes into any school across the United States. And so on the Vermont Home Language Survey, these are the questions that we ask. What is the native language of each parent guardian? What languages are spoken in your home? Which language did your child learn first? Which languages does your child use most frequently at home? Which language do you most frequently speak to your child? What other languages does your child know? So if any of these questions are answered English and another language, then at kindergarten registration, Deb Coombs is right there to talk to the parents. Sometimes the parents say, oh, well, my child learned Spanish on Dora the Explorer. And so then we know that that's not, it's really important to have Deb Coombs at the kindergarten registration because of that factor. So we're not tracking down hundreds of Dora the Explorer children, but so that we know that they really truly are an English language learner. But that's not how we decide or how they're brought into the program. We have a screener test that we use, the WIDA WAPT. And so we give that screener once when the children enter the school. And if they qualify for English language services, then we send a letter home to the parents and let them know. And then every year they are given the WIDA Access test. We just finished this. It's usually given in March. And so it's a standardized test of English language proficiency. So it's listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And it covers content, language of math, science, social studies.
It's grade appropriate, right?
Yes, it's grade appropriate. Yep.
So the access, you test, the access test is in English?
Yes.
And test them on what they've learned in the various coursework?
Yep. And there are different tiers. So if a student is brand new, then they take the Tier A test. If they have been here and they're between a 2 and a 3, which here are the levels of proficiency, then they'll take the Tier B test. And if they're about to test out, then they'll take the Tier C test. So these are the levels of English proficiency. One, entering, we'll expect a student who has been living in this country but maybe doesn't speak any English at home to be a level 1 when they come to kindergarten. If they didn't go to preschool or anything, we would expect them to use minimal social and minimal academic language. And then even a student, if they're in 6th grade and they come from another country, we'd expect them to be at a 1. And then, so as kids are here, when they hit the 5, that's when they technically test out of the ESL program. And that shows that they know and use social English and academic language at grade level. So we know the test shows that they can work in the classroom without the support of myself or another ESL teacher or class. Any questions so far? So students are clustered with one mainstream teacher per grade level, so there are 7 ESL classes that I teach every day, and I work with Jen O'Neill to determine the best times to work with students, and that sometimes gives me 15 minutes to work with kids for intervention. But my schedule this year is extremely packed. I start at 8:25 and I go through till 2:15. And that's my lunch. So I am going pretty fast with kids, and it's awesome. I love it.
Do you have a need of interpreter services?
For parent-teacher conferences, but not in my classroom. No. No, use an interpreter in the classroom.
Okay. When you take them, where do they all come out of? What are they missing?
Oh, what are they missing? So I've worked with Jen O'Neill to make sure that we align my schedule with Skills Block. And so students are usually coming out of Skills Block. Some grade levels prefer that I pull during guided reading. And so, like 5th grade, for example, I have an advanced ESL class of 5th graders who come to me during their guided reading time. Does that answer your question?
Well, and Kieran from during Spanish.
Yes, and so in the early grades, we do, so that they're not missing math or English, if we can align it with missing Spanish, then that does happen. Just because we're making sure that early on, kids are learning the phonemic, all the sounds in English, and so if they're also learning in Spanish, I mean, it's great to add lots and lots of languages. It's just the one time, there's not a lot of time in our schedules, so that's one thing that sometimes they miss. So students acquire social language in 2 to 3 years, academic language, research, this is research-based. Research shows it takes 5 to 7 years to gain that academic language. So if a kid comes in kindergarten, we expect they'll be testing out by fourth, 5th grade, and that's happening. We're seeing those numbers. So academic language, I use the National Geographic REACH curriculum, and students, this curriculum is specifically designed, Common Core aligned, and is specifically designed to work, to teach literacy through content. So they're learning vocabulary for science, social studies, math, and language arts through this curriculum. And we also build our own curriculum. I do a lot of curriculum design. I have some technology that I've acquired through Title III grant funding, which is determined year by year, and Anna Rossen has been really great in applying for those grants and getting lots of technology for the ESL classroom. And we also do fun things like puppet shows. And this works on their fluency in a way that's really, really fun, and uses texts that we've been working on. I meet regularly with all the classroom teachers, the mainstream teachers that I work with. I have regular scheduled meetings with them. And I also do all the PD with my colleagues here at Academy. So whatever they're doing on in-service day, I also will be doing, so that I can be using the same strategies in the classroom. ESOL night, I do once a year. We do once a year.
Caught me eating too caught me in the buffet line.
It's a really fun night. Parents come and we play games and we eat great food. It's potluck. You all should come sometime. I also have an ESOL blog to communicate with parents. So that you can actually access by going to the Academy School page, and you go down and you press on the ESL tab, and it will take you straight to the blog.
And is that everybody this year? No, right?
No, this was only the students who were able to make it to the ESL night. No, that's not. There's a lot of people who have other commitments.
Do you have kids in every single grade?
Yes, this year I do. Some years I may not, but this year I have kids in every grade. Yeah. Are there any questions?
How many years have you been here now?
This is my 5th year here.
Heidi, could you talk about your training to be a
Yeah.
ESL teacher?
Yeah. I have my master's degree from SIT in teaching English as a second language, pre-K to 12 certification.
Yeah, I'd just say we're very lucky to have Heidi and a lot of staff that we have in the district. They're phenomenal.
Could you say a little bit about how you, I'm just blank in terms of how you teach a child that speaks very little English to speak English when you don't speak their language? So, I mean, what is the training involved that enables you to do that?
Yeah, so at SIT, the coursework, tons of strategies for working with students, and a lot of what I do is with pictures, and you teach, the language they do have, you teach just a little bit further. You teach within, I don't use too much technical jargon, but you teach within their zone of proximal development. And so you take what they know, and then you add a little bit more. And so, like I have a kindergartner who came in with really no English, and so you start, and I have tons of pictures and tons of manipulatives, and so for using to teach kids at the beginning. Does that answer?
Yeah, I sort of have a picture of it. Obviously, you have to keep really detailed records.
Yes.
So and where do you get support if you kind of...
Deb Coons.
There's a man.
And Anna Rawson and Jen Kors. They're my colleagues in the ESL department, and really, whenever I've needed any...
You've got some fun
Yeah,
support.
yes, I have great support. Yeah?
So how do you distinguish language problems from either behavior issues or other learning issues? So a student comes with more than one, sort of learning disadvantage, and, if you can't talk to the person, how do you sort of parse that out?
Right. So we've had a few students over the years who have come in, and so what we do is we make sure that they have a level of English. Sometimes they know that they have a disability in their language, and so they're come already, and so they know that. And so if that sometimes carries over from the country they're coming from, and then we can have them, well, it's really tricky. It's really tricky to tease that out. Sometimes, and so you have a translator in with the testing, but we usually wait to make sure, well, we don't always wait. It's totally case dependent. It's a really tricky part of my job and all ESL teachers' jobs. But in terms of a learning disability, a lot of teachers come to me and they say, he's just not learning to read, he's not, But if you think about it, he didn't have 5 years of English spoken to him or her, and so they're starting much later. So usually there's a lag in reading and in math until they've acquired enough English. That's why the 5 to 7 years is to learn their academic language is important to keep in mind, because that's completely research-based. So, but in some cases it's really tricky. It's a really good question, and I usually defer to Anna Rawson. If I have any questions, bring in an extreme expert. She's been working for many years and has seen a lot of different cases, but it's totally case-specific.
And my follow-up question to that is, when we get to standardized testing, then you have another issue, which is how the heck do you do standardized testing with someone who's not an English
Right.
as their first language?
So their first year in the country, they don't have to take the kneecap test in reading. They do have to take it in math. But there's a lot of reading on the math test. But that's a state. I believe that's a state.
So Andy, when you show us the numbers, I've never seen, like, please remember that there are 12 students in here or whatever that, that don't quite fit because their scores are being affected by their language.
We don't identify them. We don't identify them like that on any data that we give out, so they will be included. If they took a kneecap, then they're included in that data. We don't put an asterisk or anything like that to identify them.
It's interesting that the research says 5 to 7 years, but the test people don't pay attention to it.
Right.
So 1 year.
But they do, to answer your question,
Well,
though,
it's
they
not
do have
the test people,
accommodations.
It's actually the federal and state government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The federal requirement is more, the state requirement on us is much more strict than the federal. Other states don't require you to test kids in math the first year in the country, for example. That's a state decision. Vermont's very tough on that.
But they do receive accommodations. So they can have more time. They, they can have certain parts read aloud, or they can have breaks, and administered in small groups.
And once
Yeah.
our students are language proficient, our ESL students, they perform very, very well on all of our state assessments.
Yeah, a bunch of them stood up the other morning when
That's right.
we were having kids stand up.
And then my last question is, if there are adult learning programs for English as another language, how do you dovetail? In other words, is there coordination between adult English learners and what programs we have at the schools?
The only thing, there's Vermont Adult Learning, and some of the parents of my students attend school there. But you mean in terms of carrying on through high school and going on? Or?
No, I just meant, if the best way to improve their language skills outside the school is to make sure that the parents are learning the language at the same sort of rate that they are.
Actually, that's a misconception, because we actually want our parents to be speaking their language to their children, because if they're speaking their language, they have a really high cognitive, their language is very rich, thank you. Their language is very rich, and so then when the when the student starts learning language, then they just can transfer that. So they have that language in their own language, but once we have parents start to speak if they don't know enough English, then they're not giving their children the richest language that they can. So.
I think what I heard what Dave was saying, is there an environment whereby the parents who we're going to have to assume may not speak English well at all, much as their children, is there an environment where the children and the parents are learning English together?
Oh.
Perhaps from a source outside of our schools.
I'm not sure if they do that at Vermont Adult Learning. I don't know. Good question.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Because, I think all of you know, my daughter's been with Heidi and been in there, but can you speak at all, you can use Karen if you want to, it just fascinated me how she looked very fluent to all of us, but yet Heidi was able to identify through some of the tests that there were some things that held her back. What things did you look for, if you could just explain to them? To me, as her mom even, looking at her, I wouldn't have thought, but yet they can identify it.
Yeah, usually the area that we can, the ESL, the access test is fantastic to help us identify those areas. But usually an area is in their writing. When they're really advanced, then you can see it in their writing, and you can tell that there's still areas there.
And the only other comment I'd make is my own daughter doesn't really want to test out because she doesn't want to leave Heidi. Not only does she love Heidi, but that core group that hangs together has been just a phenomenal experience in every way.
Thanks.
No, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I can get out my flashlight.
If you have any questions you think of later, feel free to email.
So then I think that brings us to administrative report.
Yeah, the only other thing on the work plan that didn't get into the agenda was related to this theme on diversity, in that we thought we would just give an update on some of the diversity initiatives as part of our report. So I'm going to start by just talking about the fact that the Diversity Equity Committee is planning two activities. One actually got changed to April 23rd. I think the principals had it for April 24th, but there's a conflict, so we're looking at the Wednesday after vacation, April 23rd. And that's going to be a culminating activity for this poetry project that students in the schools have been doing work about where they're from, where I am poetry. And so Michaela Sims is organizing a really renowned poet to come in and do some work. We're encouraging parents and students to come to that night. It'll be 6 p.m. at BAM's. And we're hoping, there'll be some light dinner type thing, but we're hoping that students and parents can come be part of the presentation and then do their own poetry, either.
That's all grades?
Yeah, we're just opening up to all schools. So that's just one activity. And then the Celebrating Diversity Day, May 2nd. Let me just make sure. Yeah, May 2nd. This, I think, is probably the 5th year that we've done it, although the town is not participating this year. The Community Equity Committee that involves town representation just didn't feel like they were able to contribute this year. So, as we have done in the past, the schools do a lot in terms of the diversity activities that they do during the day. And then we will continue at 5 p.m. I think there'll be some activities that start at Pliny Park, right downtown in Brattleboro, and then we'll move over to the River Garden at 5:30. And there'll be a lot of art displays, there'll be student presentations, there'll be student-teacher presentations, so there'll be a whole list of activities. And the committee is putting together an activity list, so we'll get that out pretty soon.
That's from
May
May 2nd.
2nd, first Friday in May. So I would just ask, as principals are doing their reports, they jump into that as well.
Okay. Jen, you're on that end, you want to start?
Sure. So, diversity committee we've been working on is Elizabeth Kroll is on the SU diversity committee, and I think Andy Davis is, but
Yep.
I'm not sure. We have been working on the I Am poems, so Elizabeth has been working with our classrooms on that and doing videos of the I Am poems. Also, as part of I've talked about our Monday meetings as part of our social curriculum. Our social climate committee has taken and created lessons for the 2 weeks before Diversity Day on May 2nd to talk about some issues around diversity, meaning we talk about exclusion, inclusion, and then celebrating differences. And so a group of students in the last month have been creating posters throughout Oak Grove that say, they're kid created, but we're all one family, we all come from different places, celebrate each other, things like that, and really talking about things we have in common and how we can communicate. So, feeling good about that. If you want more information, I can certainly provide it, but that's the general overview. So, at Oak Grove, a few things. I do have, I'll need action on a couple of hirings at the end of my report, but I wanted to, for my data, for the month, wanted to publicly, I wanted to publicly thank Kathy Cross-Allen, Andy Davis, and Aaron Villamizer and we did have a representation as violins from Brattleboro Music Center. Last Thursday night we had our arts night. We had over 150 adults that I could count, not staff members, in the audience. It was a super successful night. Kids got to present music together, there was recorders, and then the artwork, we did a scavenger hunt throughout the school for the art. The artwork was just gorgeous. And then Aaron Villamizer did a group with the presentation with the band, and then our violin with Brattleboro Music Center played a few songs in the middle of the night too. So just those individuals have put out so much effort and do so much to enrich our school. So just really grateful for that. And to see kids shine in that way. So it was a fantastic night. A few things today, a couple great things happened today at school, more than a couple. But 2 events we had, our students did their jump rope presentation at All Schools Sing today. We have a small group, but they're very dedicated. And then at the end of the day today, we had a Grovey celebration, which is our about to be PBIS. We had a Grovey dance party. It was a surprise for the kids today. So that was really fun. I hope there's not a lot of video, because I don't want that out there.
You were dancing
the move? Yeah. You have to. I hope not.
He's got a price on it, too.
Probably. And I just wanted to share this with you. I'll pass this along. I'm sorry that I don't have enough for everybody. I would love to share. But we used some of our incentive money with the Grovies, and we passed out 2 weeks ago. The bracelet is our Grovey incentive. It says kindness is contagious. So we sent those out, and the kids, I'm seeing them. It's been 2 weeks, and they're still really wearing them.
So every kid got one.
Every kid got one. it turns out that, we bought kid size and adult size, so was thinking I'd bring some for the adults, but our kids are bigger than we thought. Or the bracelets, or the bracelets are small. I don't know what it is, but, so I wanted to share that, so. A lot of good stuff happening at Oak Grove.
You had
It's a good
31
place.
fathers that your dad in a movie night? Holy smokes, that's really amazing.
Yep.
Cool.
Jen, where'd the new
What was
student
the
come
movie?
from?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, I did want to highlight Dad Dinner in a movie. That is one of our parents who Deb knows has come from
Toy Story 2.
From EES?
EES all the way up and has a crazy schedule, but volunteers his time to come in and do this. And in the past, we've had more. This is really the second time we've had that this year, but it's fantastic. We buy pizza and the kids watch a movie and they bring their, some come in their pajamas, but they bring their sleeping bags. We pull the mats out and they watch a movie. And the movie, I cannot. It's Toy Story 2. Okay, it's a way to remember previewing it, but yes, not that I hadn't seen it before. So it's a big hit. And then, I'm sorry, Jim, what was your question?
I wonder where the new student came from. I'm always interested. Said one.
Where did they come from?
How smart.
Hinsdale. Yep.
And then, I suppose I'm going to ask this question of all of you. We did the free breakfast, right? The trial? Is that a separate report, or is that when you were talking about number of breakfasts?
We don't have the survey information yet.
So is this number of breakfasts from that week, or?
I asked, I don't want to answer that incorrectly. That's my average. I had asked Sue to recalculate our average for the month, and that was our average over the month, that we had 40. I know we've met once with principals and with Ron and with the food service people and with Food Connects about universal breakfast, but all the data wasn't in, so we have another meeting set up. I have on the calendar.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't take anything for that from
Not
this
yet.
number of breakfasts?
And so I do have two recommendations for hiring for two positions. The first is for the library and enrichment teacher position. Like to have the board approve Alexandra Schultz. Lexi Schultz is what she's often known as. She is fabulous. She's going to be a fantastic addition to our school. She has been working up. She filled in for Putney as the librarian when they had a leave. She is graduating with her library media specialist degree as of September of this year. She graduated. I'm sorry. Has phenomenal technology skills. A real go-getter. Who blew us out of the water in her interview. She has connections to Brattleboro. Her mother's a teacher at Academy, so we feel like there's a great support system. So I really hope. Here's her resume and information here. But
I was really thrilled to hear that she was going to get this job because she did a phenomenal job in Putney. It was just a one-year leave, so it's nice that she's available.
Subbing here, some too.
She had actually filled in for us. We knew her. She filled in when one of my teachers had paternity leave. So she'd come in for 2 weeks, and then for him, and then another paternity leave to fill in for another week. So we had her for 3 weeks in the building. We really got to watch her interact with children. Which
It's
was
quite an interview.
Yeah, it was. And then, so she came to us right away. So we're really pleased. Some great recommendations. And, do you want me to do the second one?
Sure.
Okay. So the second person is for our kindergarten, first grade academic support teacher position. Sometimes we call that title. It's title funded. This position, we did when we did a little movement at Oak Grove as we changed positions around. But this position is really working with kindergarten, first grade, doing math and literacy support in the classroom. So I am thrilled to be able to recommend this person, Kelly Diaz, who has been a teacher at Vernon Elementary in the kindergarten, enrichment with kindergarten title. I can't tell you enough. When I talked to Mark Spino about Kelly and have talked to other teachers, and Deb Coombs actually is one of the references about what she's been like as a motivator for positive, not just PBIS, but positive growth for academic learning, for really using data to support children moving forward, their classroom environment, responsive classroom. I mean, she's just, I am just so lucky. I feel so very fortunate to get to be able to recommend her. for Oak Grove. So I hope you take her as well. Sorry. And a loss for Vernon, a major bonus for Barville Town.
So we're sort of routing them, aren't we?
You know, I hope I never feel that way. Like, I talked to Mark when she applied, and you know, there's changes in Vernon going on, and with that bump, how they do with the class sizes and things get shifted. Her love is K1 in that early grade, and so she would have had a change at Vernon next year because of that.
That's really good.
So it's, you know, it's right at the age level that would work for her.
So I'd entertain a motion
So moved.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. So we got to do a book.
Okay. Should I go now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here is my report from Green Street. Yes. Coming through, we held steady enrollment, 243. Free and reduced lunch numbers maintaining at 72%. Let's see, we're going to have to see if we can offer one more session of tutoring. The last session we had ended at last week on the 27th. We're still running some numbers to see if there's still enough money, enough balance left in the tutoring to offer another. We might be able to do one 3-week session, we're thinking, but we're still running the numbers. But that's been well attended and it's been very successful this year. The last session we invited kindergarten students in, and so that gave them a big boost. It was really cute. There was one group of 4th graders that worked with Andrew Spino, one of our 5th grade teachers, and now they feel a real strong connection to him, so it's really nice. And so now whenever he goes by the kindergarten class, they're all waving and yelling for Mr. Spino. It's a lot of fun. We did have one student return to us from Bellows Falls. She was in the school in September, new to us, and she's moved back. Let's see. Our third Thursday was a little less well attended. Things just got, the winter was grinding on and it was a low turnout. We think that will start turning around now. The Tulip Trot 5K that's coming up again, I've told you about May 24th. We're getting a lot of movement going there. It's a huge fundraising effort, but it's a terrific event. A lot of really committed, dedicated parents working on that. Playground committee meetings, that's going to happen again next week. We did procure a $1,000 grant that Sadie Fischesser helped us get that we're really pleased about. And now that the ground is finally thawing, we think we'll finally get some work done on that soon with some large stone work that's going to go along the embankment where the trees are and so on. Down at the bottom you can see Jumping Geckos had a great, well-received performance at Maplewood Nursing Home. I guess the crowd went crazy. They just loved them there. They couldn't get enough. So they had a great trip there. And we started our million-page challenge last week, which is all kids got a sheet of paper, and we're just, one first grade student thought it'd be a great idea to see if we as a school, all the teachers and parents and kids can read 1,000,000 pages. And so we're tracking by the end of the school year, so it's just a great incentive to get people to read. Jen talked about the I Am poems, and I brought an example of a few from Green Street. You can pass down the line. These are displayed all around the school right now. Our plan is to have several of these read aloud at our Arts Night celebration, which is next Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. Usually what we do is, we've done in the past, we're going to have we've had kids read just poems they've written. These are themed poems about where I'm from, and usually we have a little quiet musical accompaniment. It's a really nice way for the kids to showcase their writing talent, so we're looking forward to that. And we'll also be doing some of that work, as Ron mentioned, as part of the Diversity Day celebration. And we also have Ian Diamondstone, a very committed parent volunteer, is working with myself and Craig Roach, some other parents, to have some artwork and video we're trying to come up with a mural or screen space either at the River Garden or somewhere downtown on the 2nd of May at the diversity celebration. So we're looking forward to that. I'll pass out our monthly calendar for April, if you'd like one. I'll take one, sure. And then there is no, I wasn't sure of the board meeting, so that's not listed at the 23rd or the 30th. I didn't know until tonight, so that's the only reason that's missing from there. And then we do have one teacher that has resigned. Chris Terry has just been outstanding. She used to run our primary transition program, otherwise known as PTP, which was up in Powers House. And then she came in and for 2 years ran our step services program. She has a grandchild that's living in Alaska, and she is moving to be closer to her grandchild in Alaska, so we're wishing her the best. We're not sure with changes in the building if that position will be replaced or not. But this year she's co-teaching with Sue Johnson in 1st grade, and is just doing an outstanding job. It's going to be a big loss to the school. She's been a mover and a shaker with the PBIS program, and she's very, very dedicated, very dynamic person, so we're going to miss her, but we wish her well.
We need a motion on that then to accept with regret.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
And what is her name again?
Chris
It's coming
Terry.
to
Christine
okay.
Terry, actually.
it's coming, Jane.
Yeah, it's coming ahead of your way.
Yes, for Diversity Day, we have a couple things going on. We're putting on a play that students are here 2 afternoons a week rehearsing right now. And the play is with New England Youth Theater. That's through the NEA, the National Endowment of the Arts grant, which New England Youth Theater got. And we have 20 or so students involved in that. And that will be on diversity on that night in May at the museum, the Brattleboro Museum. That'll be their first performance. It'll be live. Eileen Parks and Nurse Amy are directing that with the fellow from Youth Service from the New England Youth Theater.
Eileen and who?
Eileen Parks and Nurse Amy Major. Also that evening at Pliny Park, Eileen will be leading a dance, what do you call it, flash mob dance. Thank you, Ron. Great flash mob.
She mentioned it at the Diversity Equity.
I thought you were
To the song Happy, which all of our students here learn. We do a lot of dancing, that's right. I do a lot of dancing in gym class, and all of our students have learned to dance to that. And that's it.
It was nominated for an Oscar, guys.
Yeah, it's Despicable Me.
Oh, Despicable Me.
Two.
And she's also, it's okay. I can't keep my feet steady. So, additionally, we're videoing, we're getting an organized flash mob here to that same song, which she will be projecting in as a recorded.
When is that event?
When is the event?
Yeah.
On Friday.
This Friday? Oh, the second.
Right, when are we doing
At
it?
school.
I'm not sure when we're doing it. We've rehearsed a couple of times,
I don't
and
know.
it needs work.
That's right. Just tell me when it is.
It's really cool.
Right out on the street.
Really cool. We did a flash mob. The entire school did a flash mob when Commissioner Velaseca was one of his visits, and he joined in. Ron joined in. I have Ron and the Commissioner on.
These are the types of things we should put on the school board website.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the joy factor. It's important in any successful organization.
The joy factor.
The joy factor, absolutely. And the last thing, of course, to be a There'll be a recording of a poetry recital. It's the IM poems. And we have many of our students, our Ls, recited that poem for Secretary Bella's sake when he was here last in the gym.
And they're going to do that during diversity celebration.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll be doing that downtown?
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff going on, and of course tonight Heidi presented. Going around is our report, and we had 4 students go out, a blended family, move to Florida, and 6 children come in the last week or so. So the last week, yes. So we've gotten an influx of quite a few students in Brattleboro in the last month, for sure.
And where were they coming in from?
Well, it's over there. They've come from 3 from Putney, 1 from New Jersey. It's a mix of places. St. Johnsbury and Bennington. But 4 left in a blended family to Florida. So our net is up 2. We have a couple upcoming events. A variety show. Our annual variety show will be held here. We have 2 shows on the 11th, the Friday before vacation. And we have a mad scientist coming called Slapstick Science, performing 2 shows here for students on the 28th of April.
And is the African dance and drum, I understand, was paid by the box top?
Paid by the box tops, yes. We collect, as a school, we do the box tops that are on cereal boxes and so on and so forth, and we collect them, and it's very profitable for us. And this year, I think our grand total is close to $1,400. And we use that every year to do student assemblies. And so all that money always goes right back to student activities. And this year was a great show. The African Drummers and Dancers was a fantastic show.
There's some actually on our Facebook page.
Yes, there's some great photos.
Is the slapstick one paid for by that too? Or?
The slapstick one is that will actually be paid for out of the BEEP fund, the BEEP funding.
And you said the 28th, but here it says the 29th for that event?
I'm quite sure it's the 20th, it's a Tuesday.
So this is wrong here.
What's the matching?
The bottom of the second page, slapstick sign, so 429.
Okay, it's a Tuesday. So it's Tuesday the 29th?
Tuesday,
The 28th, okay, so.
So the 6th graders are going to miss it?
Yes, the 6th graders are at BAMS, I believe. And also coming up, I love this field trip. We started it last year. We take our 5th graders to Keene State College. It's an annual event now. We really tried to expand that notion that we want all of our students to be career and college ready. And so many of our students don't come to us with that mindset. And really, I think it's the job of us as educators to create that mindset for our students. So we really take it seriously. And we love bringing our kids over to Keene State. We have an opening for 4th grade. We have ads out right now. We'll be interviewing prospective teachers for a 4th grade teaching position. And we have 2 resignations. Laura Battles, who is a Spanish teacher, who's been with us for 2 years, will be resigning end of this school year. And Bryn Tucker, who has been a Green Street teacher and our SU data coach, who was to be coming here, will be resigning. However, she will probably be joining us here in a job share with Deb Cardane, who's been accepted to UMass for a doctoral program in literacy. And so we're working on that so we don't lose either one of them.
Bryn was supposed to be in 5th grade?
Well, she was in 5th, but when you're on a leave like that, there's no guarantee you go back into that specific position. or grade level. But yes, she was in fifth for several years at Green Street. And just wanted to bring to your attention that the next board meeting, the three principals will present to you the early kindergarten entrance requests. There's 7 students. Did I say that correctly?
You did, I just totally forgot. And I have
They're
the
sitting
box.
right there, yeah.
There are 7 families that are seeking early entrance for their children, which means they were born. There'll be 5 after September 1st,
September 1st,
but not after November 1st. It's a 60-day window, and by policy, they get additional assessment, the Cassell, and then we make recommendations to you. It's your decision whether they should come or not. 7 is, I think, the largest ever.
It's a big group.
What's the incoming kindergarten numbers look like?
Right now, what was it, 84, something like that? It's a little,
88, but that's.
80, yeah, a little lower than last year. Yeah,
As of now,
as a town.
It goes up and down.
Just as of now.
As of now, yeah, and there's,
Is that
and there's
close
already,
to what really happens?
I think it might end up being comparable to this year. We always end up with people moving in over the summer and so on.
And then during the year?
It is significantly less than this time last year.
Because last year you guys were worried about the amount of kids that were coming in, and it ended up being,
Yeah.
And they all stayed.
Yeah.
right, so that's how I just read that.
We've had 2 big years in a row now. The last 2 years have been large groups.
Right, so as of now, this group looks like it'll be a little smaller. But we know there's still a number of folks out there that have not registered their
That normally with parents, or is this going to be taken
I'm sorry.
examination? Are they going to be coming in with their parents?
No, the parents won't be here at the meeting. Yeah, no, we'll present and make a recommendation. The parents won't be actually coming.
I seem to remember having talked to you. Was that a special?
that was an appeal, I think, that happened after the decisions.
Your policy says that after November 1st, that early requests are not entertained. And I know in the past, you've had 1 or 2 people who've come directly to you to ask if you waive that.
Ron, did we skip over your administrative report?
No, I think Deb would be next. I have one item at the end, but that can wait until Deb's.
I have a quick question for the 3 principals. The extension band seems to be way down. Is that like a reset from change in teacher, or what's going on there, do you know?
Well, the numbers are down, for sure. And I think it's in part with the new teacher finding a way with students, building the bands. Here at Academy, our largest band is in 4th grade. We have about 31 students. It's really a significant number. They performed for the first time yesterday at our all-school sing. And we have good numbers in band. Level 1 band, yes. We have good numbers in band. It's the after-school or extension band. But we're also running a lot of additional things after school that compete with that, so more and more.
Did it start at the same time as it normally was? It started later, right? Because she was new and we didn't start at the same
Started a
time.
little bit later, yes.
So maybe some of the kids were already involved in Tuesday night activity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the other thing is she runs for students for all 3 schools a composition club on Mondays at Green Street School, and that is very well attended. And I think it's a higher quality program than was in place before.
What, I'm glad you brought that up, John.
Yeah.
How many kids are in that, do you know?
12 in yours.
I thought it was on, it's on your
One of them
sheet.
just not in this one. Green Street is not
It's on
in
this
one.
Oh, sorry, it was in the last one.
Yeah.
That's an oversight, sorry.
It
The
was in there
last
before.
one was for an extension, 27.
Yeah, it's a big group.
Well, that was for all 3 schools.
Yeah.
But they're all in one
That's a
building.
large group.
Yeah.
That's nice, and they're really very engaged using the GarageBand program on the Mac laptops. It's great.
And was the violin program always offered before this year? Is that new?
No, that was new from the Music Center. That was, when they came, they said that they would help, and then they did by offering a really reduced
That
rate.
was new last previous
Yeah, 2
year.
years.
Right. They did used to offer it in each school. The teachers would come in, and then that created, it was nice, but it also created a scheduling problem for us because they usually ended up missing recess, or they'd miss. It's just really hard to pack one more thing into the 6.5-hour school day. So this works better when it's after school.
However, I don't know, we are offering it during the day, at lunchtime. And, I don't know if we'll be able to continue it because of, the cost associated, but we do have, 5 students and a teacher who are taking violin at lunch, once a week.
Do I remember that the Music Center, do they still offer a reduced rate for the teachers for the service?
Ron, I don't know.
Wasn't it in the beginning they offered it at some really low?
Teachers?
No, for students. The strings program.
Oh,
Name the
yeah,
teacher.
it's a fairly reasonable program.
I don't know what I would compare it to. I don't know what it costs in the community compared to what we pay.
Yeah, I heard some numbers when they
So-
first did it. I think they did a presentation. Somebody did, and it was pretty
There used to
significant.
be grants, but I don't think.
Yeah, I think 2 years ago, they had a really reduced rate, and because of the numbers, they increased it a little bit, but it's pretty reasonable, actually, for the numbers of kids that are taking it, so. We'll reassess that in the spring to see what it looks like for next year.
So moving on, yeah.
So, my news is more somber. I'm going to pass down a flyer for all of you and invite you to attend a training that we'll be co-sponsoring with the Rocking Horse program, which is actually under the umbrella of EPS. A day-long training with an international spokesperson from the National Organization on the International and National Organization on Fetal Alcohol Syndrome. And Kathleen Mitchell is coming to us first the night before, where we will be hosting a special presentation for local doctors and medical professionals on this very topic. And then all day on the following day, on Friday, we'll be holding this. So we do need RSVP for any of you who are interested. And for the principals, if you would please extend the invitation to your school nurses. This is an issue that we see every day and really feel like we need more information about. And just some of the preliminary information that I've seen is pretty compelling in terms of how it plays out with learning disabilities and challenges in the children that we're working with. So if you're interested, please let us know by April 18th. You're all invited.
Deb, is the Brattleboro Election Coalition a part of this, or?
They are assisting. They are doing some of the work with us.
I constantly get reminders of programs and things from
Yes.
them.
Yeah. And I'll be doing a press release and putting things out. Another just informational item I'm passing down, and I thought of the board and thought this would be interesting for you. Barbara George, who is our landlord at 3rd Street, worked with the Brattleboro Thermal Utility Group and secured grant money to install a pellet furnace for AES for 2 buildings.
A boiler.
A boiler, thank you. And it has been installed. We've been using it for about a month, the past month. We still have not calculated the savings, but she did give this handout to me today, and I thought it would be interesting because it really, I'm kind of speaking to the choir, but she projects that we may save anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 a year in our fuel costs. And of course, this also does great things for our environment. It brings opportunities for employment. It keeps the money in our local economy. And we're actually at this point purchasing the pellets from a New Hampshire base. So I wanted to let you know that we are also doing this at EES at Birch Street. And then finally, we did have, I'm going to do the policy, it was just we had a quick policy council meeting last week, and it was kind of off of our regular schedule, so we had very low attendance. But it was a good meeting, and the council approved the plan for the refurbishing of our sequestration cuts, and I did give you a preliminary about that the school night report night. So I'm presenting to you for your approval tonight the plan, and the plan is to reinstate $130,756 to the Head Start and Early Head Start programs, and we will use those funds to create an Early Head Start classroom out in Westminster and hire 3 teachers to run that program year-round, full day. We are re-entering our agreements with 2 and possibly 3 partners in the community. The ones that we are sure about are Westby Nursery School and Brattleboro Nursery School. We are in negotiations with the Spouts program, which is at Canal Street and administered through Wyndham Child Care. That would be another wonderful complement to what we do. And each of those partners would carry 5 Head Start children in their program. We would provide all of the support services that we do through the Head Start program for the families and also support for the teachers. And we would reinstate a home visitor or a family support specialist, and that's the case manager who works with the families, because of course we are increasing our numbers again. And this also brings in some additional hours for our kitchen staff, because right now our Birch Street kitchen prepares all of the meals for our entire program, and with the exception of the Head Start classroom in Westminster. In this way, we will have the meals for the Early Head Start classroom, which are very different than what we would do for preschool, prepared from our Birch Street kitchen and then transported out to Westminster. So,
Is that Dr. Buxton's list? Is that Dr. Buxton's list?
yes, yes.
What happened to the busing?
The busing is actually not part of this. I can speak to that. My plan was not to confuse you.
How did that go?
She wasn't there.
So should we do a motion on just that part?
That would be, and I can speak to that next piece, yes, but the motion would be to submit for the reinstatement of the $130,756 for the plan as I outlined it.
And remind us, Deb, so we would approve of it here, the policy council approved, school board would approve, then you send it in to be approved by the regional?
And actually, I received green light from regional ahead of the game. They wanted to know what we were thinking, and so I let them know, and they gave me the green light and said, if you can pass it through your approving bodies, then you can go ahead, and the next step is that we upload it in a computer system that goes to the federal government, and they have the final approval.
And then this would start the new classrooms, et cetera, in August.
Right.
September.
Most of this would be implemented in the new school year, with the exception of the family support specialists, which we would like to bring on in July to participate in the recruitment of the families. I will say, one of the pieces that was brought out at the policy council meeting was that we have 17 families right now on a wait list for those slots for the new classroom, which we can only have 8 slots. And of the 17, 4 are families who have a child in our Head Start classroom. So this is clearly meeting a need in that community.
some discussion about raising teacher salary.
That's-
Some of this, and
that's-
a directive towards that.
Yep, that's COLA, and I will speak to that
Another issue. So.
next.
All right, so we would
So
entertain a
moved.
motion.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or negations?
Thank you. And now the next piece also has a May 1st deadline for submission is COLA. And our targeted amount of funds that we've been awarded is $32,255, which is a drop in the bucket. It's 1.3% of our entire operating budget. And if we spread that out so that every staff member gets a 1.3% increase, that cost will be $11,601. We have enough money left to address some of the cost increases to the program, like utilities, rent, and insurance, and then increase the teachers' hourly rates by 10 cents. Not enough. We are not finished with that, but it's something.
And I was just thinking maybe you want to remind everybody the reason in comparison to Brattleboro schools and the school.
Our goal is to get our teachers' salaries up to, and the qualifications that are commensurate with that, up to the rates of the school district, the public school teacher salaries. Right now, we, with the exception of one teacher, most of our teachers are earning salaries that are comparable to what parents do. But we are getting closer to entry-level teaching positions. The other thing that I would like to say about that is that increasing the salaries certainly will help us with continuity in terms of staffing. However, the children that we serve are, as I've said many times in these meetings, increasingly more distressed and increasingly more challenging to manage. And there's a burnout factor that goes along with that. And so we continue to have turnover. Certainly, these teachers, in my opinion, and I'm not just speaking about this community, but nationally, are not paid enough for the work that they do. And Ron and I and all of you know how committed we are to continuing to get these salaries up. And of course, along with that, we provide training and a skill. We promote skill sets that really, I do think, are top notch. But we continue to have ever-increasing challenges.
So I would just add that Jim and I will be talking with Deb because I think we have a strategy that we might be able to present to you to increase some salaries.
Good.
That would negate us voting on this.
No.
The 1.3% for all staff, some of this is not, some of it is a directive from the federal government. They wanted the 1.3 to go for salaries, but they did not dictate exactly which salaries. The staff, the management team felt strongly, as did Policy Council, that every staff member should get that increase because we have not seen increases for a number of years. And then, with the difference that we had, that would be focused primarily on the teacher's salaries. And we did need to save a piece of that to address the increasing costs that have arisen over the past few years.
So we entertain a motion to approve
The COLA.
raises. Anyone?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I will speak to the transportation piece, which has nothing to do with either one of these things in a vacuum perspective, but it really does in the overall programming. And that is that we have, as you know, last year when we were proposing our sequestration cuts, we included the notion of eliminating transportation in Brattleboro. And the parents, the policy council, were very much in support of that plan. The sentiment was parents can get their children to Canal Street. So when we proposed that to the regional Head Start office, we were actually over-proposing the cuts with a bigger plan. And we were proposing like an 8% cut, and they had asked us to do the 5.3, I think it was. And they asked us to roll back on the transportation, at least for the time being. We are wanting to move forward again with that idea, and the savings would be about $35,000. We will keep transportation in Westminster, because that is a very different community with much more challenging needs around transportation. And redistribute that money to create a data clerk. And if you remember, when we had our federal review, the theme of the non-compliances had to do with actually completely utilizing our data tracking computerized system. And we really feel that we need a person who can sort of oversee that. And it's a clerk level, and that person would report to our fiscal manager. And that person would also be inputting data, fiscal data as well, and doing attendance and that kind of thing. So we are hoping that starting July 1st, we will eliminate the transportation in Brattleboro, and that will give us the summer to work with our new families around developing strategies to get the children to Canal Street.
So do you need any motion from the board at this point?
That actually would be helpful. Yes.
I move that we approve that, the action involved around the transportation for EES. Pardon?
And the hiring of the data clerk.
And the hiring of the data clerk, yes.
Second? All approved?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I have one last question for EES. The in-kind that we're struggling so to get, how are we on that?
As of 5 o'clock or 4:45 this afternoon, we are really close. It will be an additional challenge next year because now we have reinstated this money, or we are about to have this money reinstated, and with that comes that match, so that ups the ante. We did it this year.
When was the deadline?
Well, the deadline was February 28th. We're still collecting data, but I feel fairly confident that we'll be okay.
So I just have the date for the next SU meeting, April 8th. It's next Tuesday in Dummerston, 6:45.
So the 8th?
April 8th, yeah.
6:45.
And it'll be important to have a forum. We're going to be talking about Jim King's separation benefit in his final few months, and we will need to move on some action related to the new business administrator, Dummerston.
Can we put a brief, I mentioned it to Amy, I'm not surprised she didn't remember it, but can we put a brief update from the SBA on there? Well, I can come under other or committees or
Yeah.
something like that.
Have you seen an agenda?
It came today.
Okay, so we'll probably just put it under other and just make sure
Great,
it
that's
gets.
fine. Yeah, I just want to make sure you're.
Mark, anything from finance?
No, nothing more since last reading.
So am I missing anything, or are we on to agenda review for next meeting? We're 20 minutes before 7 o'clock.
We shoot for 6:30, you know.
I'm not
I
sure.
heard 5 to 7, but I don't know that, I know how that's happened, but.
I've never seen that when I came on board. How about you, Peter?
Yeah, you have actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't
Not
know.
very often, but
Not lately.
Well, it's interesting, VSBA is changing their estimate of what a normal meeting should take. They're up to 2.5 hours.
So we're just efficient.
It's just more of a deal. But there are a couple, actually, there are a bunch of things that the last few months knocked out of off our agenda. I wanted to see if we could get back. And one is the VSBA survey. Results, and it's really important to talk about that. And we also, Mark and I went last Tuesday, I think it was, to Green Street for the last of the staff meetings.
Yeah.
So I'd like us to have that on the agenda. We already have update on community engagement, a conversation about where to go next from there. And the other thing I'd like to do is start looking at the documents and the process for the 360 evaluations. I've asked about that a few times, and I'd like to just make sure we're asking the questions we want and that the process is such that everybody's involved and everybody gets to fill out the forms and send them back in.
All right, well, can we have copies of the 360 evaluation to peruse at that meeting?
Yeah. Are they the same for every administrator and for parents and for staff? It's just,
So that would fall under one of our little action items,
actions,
right?
yeah.
And now, how do we decide, Dave, you're gonna maintain the list of action items?
Well, James
I
has
was going to.
I
What
put
was
those
that
down
action?
on the upcoming agenda.
I guess, Ron, you would send us the 360 form?
Oh.
And then I suppose the community engagement update, that action item is gonna be Jill has to send out that chart that we were at before. Again, so.
I would just remind you
Meeting.
too, to think about your August goal-setting meeting, August 21st with Harry Frank, because I think that's when you first started to talk about the community forums and the information you wanted to get out. And quite frankly, I think you got sidetracked by some personnel issues that's dictating some of this stuff. So I would encourage you to go back to your original thoughts.
And actually, I've got these, I'll copy those and send them. I was actually looking at those this afternoon and thinking, boy, there's a whole bunch of, I was looking at things, looking at our plan, our work plan and other agendas and all the things that just kind of got spread out, and that was one of them. So I'll copy those.
So then, the community engagement update would be two parts. One back from Harry Frank and the list that you have, Dave, and the stuff, that chart that I've updated several times. And for the staff
When
meeting.
you say a chart, the last document I saw was a bulleted.
Like a table?
Well, I remember a bulleted list with dates on it. That's not what you're.
Well, that was the 5 topics, broad topics that came out of the public meetings.
And that's not what you're talking about, Joe?
Well, that's part of, it's like a
So
piece
we-
that fits
we
into
need to
that
look at
table.
both, right?
Yeah, so you're right, there's two pieces.
One was the
There's an
table.
action. One was the table and one was the list of meeting topics. And the
And the table
VSBA,
we've updated over and over again.
the VSBA, you might need to send that again.
Well, we do handle a lot of these.
You have
once,
them.
probably twice, yeah. So we probably have it.
I'll look.
Yeah, well, it would be good if you did.
Well, I remember I brought them several times and my pal was looking like Peters and then I kind of said I was.
So, I mean, Ron handed out the compiled ones with, with all the scoring on it.
And that's Kim, VSBA, Vermont School Board Association, and it's the administrators looking at us and us looking at the administrators, right? And how we communicate and whether we're doing well working together. Recent explanation, Ron, or? And the 360 evaluations, Kim, is a idea of 360 degrees around of evaluating basically principals and superintendents. Right? That's what the forms are used for?
I'm sorry?
The 360s are used for principals and superintendents only?
No, it's, the 360 is used for principals to get feedback from their staff, parents, board members, for them, and share with me, and then I use that as part of my evaluation with them. For my evaluation, we've done the 360, but the year we did it, we decided it didn't match my job description. So there's a document that's tied to my job description that we do with each board, and then it gets compiled, and then the SU Finance Committee gets a document, kind of a compilation of that. So they're kind of different instruments.
Okay. Anything else for next time's agenda?
Are we, will the breakfast survey be ready for that? It's 3 weeks.
Well, we're seeing it May 6th, so, you know,
It might not be ready for the next meeting.
what's the date? This next week, the 7th?
1% on the agenda if it's not on there.
It is, no, it's on for the next one.
It's the next one? On the
Yeah.
May 7th?
May 7th is,
You're gonna have a chance to review it, you're gonna get it to the board the week before, and then they're gonna act on it May 7th.
So we'll get
Yeah,
that.
we have a meeting scheduled to review that.
So you'll have that, we'll have that for the 30th then. We'll have those documents for the 30th.
So that's all
But we
the
won't
action
discuss
thing,
that.
Jane. The 1% is coming to us the week before, so we should all be prepared, read it,
Oh.
looked at it.
All right, so you remember. I thought it was Ron sending it out. Okay.
Ron's sending it out, but we all have to read it.
Yeah.
Be clear.
You'll get it a week before May 7th.
And we're supposed to look it over between that.
yeah, which would be at the meeting we have on the 30th of April.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And regarding
We're
the,
not using that time to review it though.
Oh, no.
Did you just hand it
You'll-
out?
Yeah, well, or you'll get it through an attachment.
regarding the breakfast, even though we've not seen the survey results, we're continuing to work with Cafe Services for the improvements. And the improvements we're talking about specifically are nutrition. We're really ongoing efforts to improve the offerings for breakfast. Both likes what kids like and dislike, but with an eye toward preparing better, more nutritious food for them. Things like eliminating high fructose corn syrup, artificial ingredients, and flavorings, that kind of thing.
And we just gave the 1 week, so the kids, there's still breakfast being served in the schools, but
Yeah, it was, as I understand it, it
People
was
just
simply
pay for
available
it.
to anybody who wanted in the door and wanted breakfast.
right, so now it's paid as
So
it
it
was
goes back to
before.
the way
Right, and it was right, it went back to what it was. That week was a special menu that we worked with them to create. And we are now reviewing a 6-week cycle of menu that came about as without meeting with Cafe Services, and that's still in the draft stages.
Anything else for agendas or for this particular meeting?